And you are watching another edition of Blitz as we add Nani at the exact perfect time, who just jumps in with no seconds to bear. You're muted, Nani. At least I can't hear you.
We're here.
It's me. There we go.
I'm here.
Okay.
Let's do
Nani
this.
had some crime to fight and all that stuff, so he's a little bit late. So we started a little bit late, but here we are. 34-32 loss. Obviously, the Jets took a game that is heartbreaking because of how they lost. So many opportunities, missed tackles, blown defenses, dropped picks, potentially pick sixes. A game that the Jets really should have, won comfortably, in my opinion, if they just, cleaned up some of these mistakes. So it's hard because you're 0-1 and it only really matters in, horseshoes and hand grenades and all that stuff. Like I said in the review, it's thank God this is not a playoff game, because I couldn't get over it with how they lost this game. 0-1, but obviously some really positive signs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in the middle on this one, I think, compared to a lot of fans out there, because I know there are definitely some fans who, a loss is a loss. We're losing to Rodgers. We blew it, all those things. And I get it. Like, a loss is a loss, and the Jets do have to clean up some of these things if they're going to be competitive this season and going forward under Aaron Glenn. But at the same time, there are different ways to lose games, and this just felt like, for most of this game, this felt like a much different Jets team than definitely at any point last year, but really at any point in the last few years. You just haven't seen them play offensively like this or control the line of scrimmage like this, really on both sides in terms of line of scrimmage. It's just all of the swing factors in this game went the other way. The fumbles that they forced and didn't recover, they lose the one that they did fumble on special teams. They have 2 interception opportunities that they don't catch. They, miss an extra point, which, they go for 2 anyway, but then the other kicker makes a 60-yarder with 10 yards to spare. So all that stuff went against them, and they lose, and it happens. But, we know this is an evaluation type of season anyway. And from that standpoint, it was, it blew my expectations away in terms of offensively. And, that gives me new excitement going forward, because the offense now has a ceiling that I never thought it could going into the season. And they need to do it for more than one game, obviously. But, I didn't know if we'd ever see a game this good from the offense or Fields himself. So to see it immediately against a defense like that instantly kind of raises the ceiling of what this offense could be. And that's pretty exciting despite the loss.
Yeah, 400 yards of offense. But they scored in the first 4 drives. They didn't punt in the first half. They didn't lose a game like that. I forget exactly the stat was. They haven't lost a game like that since like 1998. They were like 51-1 or whatever it was. So it's heartbreaking. Now, it's a situation where if this offense can carry it over, then I think they'll have some success. I don't expect them to score 32 points every game, but I rather have seen the offense had a really good game and the defense had a bad game than vice versa, because we kind of expect this defense to be somewhat good, right? I think if we can get an average offense, we'd probably sign the dotted line. It was obviously much better than that. All the stats, I'm sure you'll bring up some of them, top 5 in many, many categories. But the defense is not going to be this bad all the time. Like, Michael Carter's not going to miss tackles. You're not going to have dropped picks. You're not going to have all the miscommunications that they had. So you think the defense will be, near top 10, if not minimum top half of the league. So they'll bounce back after playing like one of the worst defenses in the league in this game, allowing 34 points to Aaron Rodgers. Again, a lot of blown defenses. If you got, by the way, my voice is still somewhat gone from Sunday, so I'm still trying to recover a little bit. So if my voice cracks, excuse me. Exciting for, like you said, an evaluation season. You still want to win, though, right? Like, especially because, one, we're Jets fans. We haven't seen a lot of winning. And you said, like, this was something we've never seen before. The only thing that's similar is, like, the Jets of last year found new ways to lose every single week. And they were finding new ways to lose this week with all the blown coverages and stuff. But, with the way the offense performed, and if they were 1-0, I'm sure there'd be fans out there talking about a wild card now, where now it's like, okay, well, maybe we're still a solid team, win 7 games. But this first game hurts. I think you really have to try to win one of the next 2 against Buffalo or the Bucks, and then you're in Miami, and hopefully you take that because they look like absolute crap in multiple aspects. So 2-2 through the first four, sign me up, but we'll see. Uh, Obviously, you dropped some articles this week. My full review just dropped. I'm sure the short review will be dropping as well. Was on Jake Asman's show yesterday. I think I'll do some film reviews there every week now, or almost every week. So make sure to check that out. Just throwing a little bit of some housekeeping in there. We do have a new member, Mike Kuo. I don't know if that's how you say the last name, so I apologize if not. But Mike, welcome. $5 a month gets you all the articles of Nania's articles, Sabo's articles, Nick's articles, everybody else's articles. $3 a month gets you all the stuff on YouTube that is behind the paywall. So if you want to watch all of the videos of the games, you're talking about less than $1 a review. If you get $3 a month, you get 4 reviews in a month. It's like 80 cents, 75 cents a review. So do that. Appreciate you, Mike. Marvin Guns, what is up? My own mind. Can we talk about Sherwood and how awfully his coverage should, or I don't know, should something? I went back and looked, and he was involved in almost every pass completed. I don't know about every single pass completed. What I can say is for Sherwood, you had the blown coverage right in the red zone where he's supposed to match that running back into the flat, falls a little bit for the play action, and he's late to get out into the flat. And then there's another play, 3rd and 10, where you're playing a tight end in man coverage, and he just backs up and just invites him to the inside and gives up an easy completion on 3rd and 10. So not a good game for Sherwood. And, we're not out on Sherwood or anything like that. I'm pretty sure at that point in the offseason, we both said, hey, we like that he was signed, but I think the money he got was more of a projection. It wasn't what he's been so far. It was more of, okay, we think he'll develop into this player because he got it was like $15 million a year, 13, 15, something like that. So a little bit of an overpay again. Hopefully, obviously he bounces back. But I guess we'll start off with Sherwood specifically, but not a good game from him. And then also the one play, I know Sabo broke it down, and I broke it down in my review. But the one play where in the red zone on the first touchdown, I believe, you're expecting one of the linebackers there, whether it be Sherwood or Quincy, to pick up that over route. They don't. And there's a touchdown behind him there too. So I'm not saying it's 100% Sherwood. If I had to bet, it's probably on Quincy, but not a good game for Sherwood after that, shiny new contract.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it was a little bit of a projection to sign him to the extent that they did. A good re-signing, and, he had a good season, but, he's, I forget the exact ranking at this point, but he's way up there among linebackers. And it was after only one season in which he probably was really good, maybe quite not that good, and it's also not one of the premium positions, so they did invest quite a bit in him, and I think you want more than what you saw in this game. And then there's also the question of you had CJ Mosley the past few years. Even if he wasn't playing, he was in the building, and you had that veteran experience at the position, and now you're transferring that over to a younger guy. Is there an impact of that along with the new scheme that could lead to some of these communication issues? So yeah, definitely you would like to see better going forward. And I don't know if he'll ever play up to, being a top 5 linebacker because he's a top 5 contract, but if he could just be very good like he was last year, then, you're fine with that. But wasn't that in this game for sure.
Another member from Trent Taylor. We appreciate it. Again, $3 a month gets you every single review, 75 cents a review at that point. So Trent, we appreciate you for hopping on board to get emojis and a bunch of different things and some banners by our names and all that stuff. And really it's for the reviews. But if you want some new emojis, then hey, there you are. We'll update them the more members we get if that starts to become a thing. So we appreciate you. David said Gipson and Stevens got most of the heat, but Cisco and Adams were both very bad. Adams missed the one tackle, or maybe even 2 tackles. Obviously, the one on 3rd and 10 to Metcalf has to play that differently, has to play that more outside in, because in relation to where he was to the sideline, and also with his pursuit coming from the inside with Sherwood. Cisco, I don't really remember any specific plays where I was like, oh, Cisco was bad or good. I did a 59 play review, and obviously there's some stuff you could miss when you're trying to get through a game pretty quickly to get the content out. Was there any bad plays you remember from Cisco or anything that he's talking about with him? Unless you're blaming him for that first touchdown.
I was going to ask you, like, if you saw anything from Cisco, because I just feel like it was safeties
No.
have those games sometimes where it just goes by and they're not like super involved in anything. So it kind of felt like that for me from Cisco. Did you notice
Yeah.
anything particularly good or bad from him?
No, I think he was just there, which for a safety for the most part is pretty good. Like, obviously you don't want to see him getting beat deep or beat for a in the running game or anything like that. But I didn't notice Cisco in terms of good or bad. So I think he was perfectly fine, just perfectly average this game. Adams, minus the one play, I think he might have missed another tackle, but yeah, and again, he's been bad. That's been his bugaboo the entire time he's been a pro. This is his fourth year now, fourth or third year,
Yeah, fourth.
um, and consistently he's been a very bad tackler. And if you're at safety, you're one of those last lines of defense, and less so than Cisco, because Cisco's the true free safety. But Tony Adams is one of those. Obviously, he'll rotate deep as well, and he'll be involved plenty. And you can't take an angle like that. Like it's just an awful angle, letting him outrace you to the sideline. So not a good start for Adams. And you're going to anticipate that, hey, we'll talk about Gipson, but he got cut. If Adams keeps coming to these games and keeps missing tackles, then Malachi Moore is going to see some action relatively soon. So, do you remember anything else from Adams other than the missed tackle that was specifically very bad? I can't, and I just did the review probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours ago, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember highlighting him minus that one play in terms of being very bad.
Yeah, no, I don't remember noticing too much either. I know he stood out early in the game, and from watching it the first time, I remember that. But when I went back through, it was just a lot more of, as we'll get into, mostly Steven, Sherwood, Carter, kind of that trio for the remainder of the game. But yeah, you had a couple mistakes early from Adams.
I want to highlight another super chat. Appreciate it. Well, not another super chat, but with two members in a super chat. So we appreciate your guys' support early on in the show. Marvin says on the Jets' first offensive play when Breece ran for good yardage, I thought we were going to the Super Bowl. Kind of like that first play against the Bills a couple of years ago with Rodgers. And then obviously we'll talk about him too. But this is the best Breece has looked. This was easily his best game. In at least a year or two, right? There was no game he looked better than this in 2024. And in 2023, off the top of my head, obviously we watched so many games and stuff. I can't remember a game better than this in 2023. Maybe there was, maybe the Pats game, whatever it may have been. But this is easily the best he's looked in over a year. Decisive, breaking tackles, falling forward, setting up runs, explosive. So something we talked about in the offseason was like, hey, he was not good last year, and it was evident on tape. But a lot of that was because of, I think, maybe a lack of confidence. Obviously, he had some type of knee injury that was hampering him. Because regardless of what you say about the reads falling forward, contact balance, all that stuff, like just in general, he looked more like faster and more explosive in this game. So obviously the arrow is pointing way up for Breece and obviously I don't want to make this leap after one game. I would be silly to, but if this is the Breece we get during the entire course of the season, we're talking about getting our top 10 running back, which is obviously great for the Jets in the running game.
Yeah, I mean, definitely easily better than his best game last year, which I don't even know what game that would be because he didn't really have a signature game last year, but this was a signature game for sure. And, I think you saw the potential of when you combine a Breece, that version of Breece with a good offensive line, which we haven't really seen because even when he was playing well, either in his rookie year or I think he had a lot of good games in his second season, when he was playing well, it was because the Jets offensive line was bad. And he stood out because he overcame that and got yards that he shouldn't have got. But in this game, I feel like we saw a lot of plays where, there's an initial hole and maybe one guy gets through or there's arm contact, something like that. But there's enough of a hole for him to get momentum, break that one tackle, and just keep the offense moving really consistently. And then you get the numbers you get, whatever it was, 5-6 yards a carry. That's a testament to the fact that both him and the offensive line were good in this game because he didn't have that 80, 70 yard run to, hike up his yards per carry. It was because he was consistently getting gain after gain. And sometimes offensive line wasn't good and he would get hit in the backfield. The one play stands out that should have been like a 4-yard loss and he gets 2 yards out of it. So yeah, it's big for the Jets because they want to be this type of offense where it's less big plays and more first down after first down after first down. And Breece Hall has been more of a big play guy throughout his career. But in this game, he showed you that he could, when he's running like this, he can get you those chunk gains after chunk gains. So it would be a huge for them if he could continue to run like he did.
Yeah, and even like this play, like and I talk about it in the full review. I think, and listen, Membu had a great game. Obviously, there's some plays where he may be getting a little bit too much credit. But and I don't want people to take that as a negative. But this play, and I'll talk about it again in the full review. It's more so Breece setting up this gap, getting vertical, making 92 guesses that he's cutting that run all the way backside, and he doesn't. And then he sets it up, hits the middle. Obviously, great play for him there. So yeah, he did a really, really good job. Again, contact balance, just little things that he was doing that we haven't seen in at least over a year for Breece. And like the one thing I do want to see from Breece, and maybe I'm being like a little bit of like an old man, yell at clouds, but did you see the thing that he put out on social media? Like, oh yeah, like somebody like they screenshotted it. Yeah, something to the effect of like, oh yeah, I won't forget what you guys said about me last year or whatever. And like every time he's asked about last year, he's always talking like, oh yeah, well, like somebody had to take the blame and it falls on me or whatever. But he never takes personal accountability for saying, yeah, like I fumbled the ball, I dropped the ball, I wasn't as explosive, I had a knee injury. Like, why doesn't he just say, yeah, I kind of did suck last year? Like that's the only thing that annoys me about Breece Hall is there's really no personal accountability for how bad he was last year. And that annoys me. Again, maybe 32, I'm getting up there. Hair is receding, gray hair is popping in. Maybe I'm becoming that old man. I need a walker and soon and shit. But like, is that just me, or does that kind of bother you a little bit too with him?
I think honestly, like you're talking about your age. I'm not not there yet. I'm behind you. But for a 24, almost 25-year-old, I think I do kind of lean towards that old man end of the spectrum when it comes to the social media stuff. So it does bother me a little bit. I did see that and I was like, okay, that's great, but we still lost the game and it was only one game. So, there's no victory laps to be taken yet. So it does bother me a little bit. I feel like if I were a GM, coach, whatever on an NFL team, I would probably put more stock into some of those things than maybe the teams already do. But, I guess it's minor compared to what a lot of other guys around the league tend to do. I mean, Jordan Davis, like, threatening linemen on the other team. So it can be a lot worse, but I would prefer not to see that,
At some point, the Jets need to capitalize on turnovers. It's been a problem since 2022. It's just,
There's Jalen Carter also, not Jordan Davis. I don't want to call out the wrong guy. The spitter. Which people are like, oh my God, Dak spit first. I'm like, yeah, like not a cool move by Dak, but you can't spit into a guy's neck because the guy spit on the ground. Like it doesn't, that one action doesn't equal the other. So lose me with that. But capitalizing on turnovers would be great. It's just like it hurt, man. Cause like right after the Jets, I think they scored, there was like 7 minutes left and I ran to the bathrooms real quick. And I'm watching the play on the screens out by the bathrooms, and you see the freaking drop pick. It's like, man, it's like I saw a really close angle of it, and that hurts, man. Like it's just he would have gotten easily back to the 25 if not for a touchdown. So yeah, that, and then they fumble, they jump right back on it. It's immediately in their hands. You get DK Metcalf who bobbles a ball, hits a Jets player, hits a Steelers player, and it's not even like he catches it on the ground. The only reason the ball is caught is because the way just
him and
fell
Sauce
right
fell,
where it could settle into his body.
Yeah, and the only reason his knees were up like that to trap the ball was because Sauce was in such good coverage that Metcalf like pulled his knees to himself to like avoid his legs getting tangled up. And he trapped the ball between like his stomach and his thigh. It's like, how do people get so freaking lucky? You talk about the 60-yard field goal of Boswell. Didn't earlier in the game he made like a 57-yarder too? Like he made a really long kick again in that game. So just beyond wild how they lost that game. But yeah, nonetheless, they did catch the ball. Michael Carter's, you could say you want him to catch that. You can't kill him for it. It's a diving pick. It would have been an excellent interception. But still, talking about a guy who's is he the top or top at least 3 paid slot corner in the NFL? You got to make those plays, So I hate Tony Adams. I was cursing his ass out watching that game. Yeah, I think if he keeps making plays like that or not making plays, he'll obviously be replaced soon enough by Malachi. All of our safeties always suck at tackling. Yeah, from the Jordan Whiteheads to Tony Adams, even Cisco when he was with the Jaguars really struggled. It's like, we had some good days. You had Laron Landry, Eric Smith, Jim Leonard. We had some good tacklers, but in the last few years, definitely not. David said also Gipson stood up and left the ball on the ground when he never touched it, so he technically fumbled twice.
There was that one too.
And then and I know some people they have nerves and they have weird reaction to being nervous. Sans look at Adam Gase with the whole looking around whatever thing, but Xavier Gipson was kind of smirking post game, didn't really seem uber remorseful. Now maybe it's just a nerve thing and that's why he was smiling, but he had a little bit of a smirk. I'm like, dude, you just kind of lost in the game. What are you doing here? There was a stat, I think we put it out, or somebody from our site put it out, but since he's been, a returner, he has the most muffs, the most fumbles out there in the league. He's been so bad. He didn't prove a lot in camp, apparently. He's injured and he's not playing well. And then it only takes one game of him sucking to replace him with they brought in what's his name, Isaiah Williams or something like that from the Bengals practice squad. And I saw you put out something to the effect of over, not a big sample size or whatever, but over 60 returns. He hasn't fumbled the ball once. So the Jets are screw it. We just want a guy who can catch the ball now. Any other info on Isaiah Williams? I'm sure we already did a few articles about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, first with that decision to cut Gipson, I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of how I react to that. It almost feels like, you set the house on fire and then you want praise for putting it out. That's kind of what Aaron Glenn did here, because we talked about it. There was no justification in the first place for Gipson to be on the roster. And I think the reasoning that Glenn provided was really asinine to me, because he said he caught X amount of punts in practice, 120 or whatever it was, without muffing it. And I'm like, okay, cool, but like you just said, with nervous reaction, things like that, catching punts is that's not a skill thing. Anyone could do it in practice. It's just about how do you react in a game setting with all that pressure, some guy running at you trying to take your head off and 80,000 people watching. And we saw 2 seasons worth of him. You just brought up the stat. He fumbled 9 times, 5 of those being muffed punts. So we know in game that he struggles, and training camp should not override that. So it did not feel like a good reason to keep him on the roster. We knew it was a risk, and they pay for it immediately. So on the positive side, the fact that, waste no time with it, right out of here.
Yeah.
You like that. We're not doing the 8+ games of Dalvin Cook or whatever it was, or Lazard or Uzama, all the players under Saleh who you could see early on were not cutting it, but they continue to get reps. So you like that aspect of it. But at the same time, it would be nice. It would be better if they were 1-0 and they could see this predictably before it happened.
I love this super chat, and thank you, BJF. A supporter of Blew It. I know that on Twitter every once in a while he'll drop a good one-liner, whatever, talking about Andrew Beck or whatever it's been. So I always appreciate the shout outs on Twitter. Buffalo Jets fan, but I want to throw this to you first. Given the quality opponent, that Justin Fields game was better than any Aaron Rodgers game as a Jet, and he did it with an allegedly tanking roster. And when I saw that question, I actually pulled up some games. I kind of forgot. You have the Miami game late in the season. Rodgers had 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, 274 yards against the Dolphins. Jacksonville game, 289, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, but about a 50% completion percentage in that one. Houston, he had 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 211 yards, so didn't throw the ball a ton, or not a lot of yards per attempt. And then past that, really not much else. So Houston, Jacksonville, Miami, but I think he laid this out perfectly, and you could tell he's a pro at doing this stuff because he argues with people on Twitter and stuff. You got to kind of cover all your bases, and he meant with given the quality opponents, very important part of that statement. So I agree with him. I don't think Aaron Rodgers ever played better than that as a Jet. So absolutely fantastic game for him with, again, what people consider a tanking roster. Imagine you put Devontae Adams out there with them, healthy ABT, whatever else it may be. So yeah, Buffalo, I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, and I put this stat out there, but there are metrics for that, because I wondered the same thing. When has the Jets quarterback played this well? Was it better than anything Rodgers did last year? But in terms of EPA per dropback, which is it's basically like overall efficiency, accounting for 10 yards on 3rd and 20 doesn't really matter. 1 yard touchdown is good, things like that. So in terms of EPA per dropback, it was better than any Rodgers game. Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, any of those three guys never hit what he did in this game. And it was number 1 in the league this week. So, and it also accounts for, you're throwing sacks in there. He only took 1 sack, which is great. The rushing, all that stuff.
Which,
so
can I rewind to that sack too? That sack was in the Reds. That was in the 2-point conversion, right? And I don't correct.
In the red
I think
zone,
that was the one sack
the one that Olu gave up. That was the one.
Okay,
sack.
yeah. Olu, he overset there, but I didn't love the design of that. And there's we'll talk about the offensive scheme and stuff a little bit. I like most of it. If you watch that play back, obviously you have a stacked box. You're in the red zone, right? You're anticipating pressure to get there relatively quickly, smaller field, all that stuff. But Garrett Wilson stalk blocks Jalen Ramsey or whoever the corner is, and then actually engages with them and then goes to break inside. And I didn't love that because obviously everything happens quicker in the red zone. So I would understand a play action, fake stalk block, and then break to the inside. But the fact that Garrett Wilson engaged for 2 or 3 steps and then broke out of it, how much time do you think we have in the red zone to get rid of this ball? It's a pretty impossible ask for the offensive line. And Olu, jacked that play up. But I didn't like that design. And again, for the most part, I liked what Tanner Enstring did. Keep it simple, 1-2 reads, get it to your check down, motion, pre-snap, moving Garrett Wilson all over the field. I liked all that stuff, but was not in love with that play in the red zone, either how it's called, how it's taught, or how Garrett Wilson executed. Not the best play in my opinion on that one.
Yeah, but overall, I do think it was, and you could throw the qualifier in there, that it was Pittsburgh. And I put this out a few minutes before we started, but that's the most points the Steelers defense has allowed since the 2022 season. So, this is a great opponent. They know him well. They added more veterans this offseason, some of whom, Ramsey made some big plays. And despite all of that and losing AVT, they still come out and do what they did. And that's with Justin Fields being a huge part of it. So I think there is an argument. It's better than any Rodgers game. Definitely any Zach Wilson game. And, Sam Darnold had some high points, and I think you could put it up there with or above some of those high points that Darnold had. So it's exciting to come out in your first game and see a peak like that compared to some of the other peaks that we've seen from the previous guys that we hoped could be the answer at this position. So we'll see if it's sustainable, but, it's promising as we sit here right now. We could come back in a week and just, be looking back at all the concerns we had about Fields and the offense. It's totally possible, but right now it definitely is. It was exciting to see that from him in the offense.
Yeah. The Yankee concept, he checks into that. He sees single high, most likely cover 3, checks into a Yankee concept, which is a perfect call against cover 3. Wherever the safety, middle of the field safety jumps on, you throw it opposite. Did that, led Garrett Wilson really nicely. His vision, the movement in the pocket, the accuracy for the most part, minus the first pass, was good. There's a player too that I have, there was a read or two where he held onto the ball instead of handing it off to Breece that I didn't like. There was a ball that was behind Garrett on the first throw of the game, which again, butterflies, all that stuff, can't kill him for that one. And then there was 1 or 2 more, the play where towards the end of the game where he tries to force it to Josh Reynolds. If he gets off of his first read quicker, you had somebody open on a speed out, I believe, on that side of the field, on the other side of the field, opposite his first read. So I think he could have got the ball there. And then there was another one where he could have gotten the ball to somebody else and he held onto the ball for too long. I'll try to remember it exactly. But overall, I give it an A-. I think he had a very good game. Again, a few missed plays. A few times locking onto the first read and not coming off of it quick enough. But overall, I don't think you can do really anything below an A-. Maybe you can argue for a B+, but I'm going to go with an A- for Justin Fields' game. So obviously an excellent start for him. I'm going to see if I could pull up some of those plays where maybe I wanted something else.
Yeah, and that I would be similar. I'd almost lean towards the A side of things if we throw in that opponent qualifier, but there were definitely some option reads that he missed in terms of the handoffs, like the Breece one late in the game. There was one early with Allen where you could see by his reaction he wished that he kept it. You mentioned the inaccurate throw at the beginning. That one was pretty ugly, but it was the first throw of the game. And from there, I really feel like his throws in general were really on point. I mean, in terms of accuracy, there was very little to complain about in this game.
Yeah,
And he
can't.
attacked downfield. He attacked intermediate, tight windows on the move. So his throws were, I don't think the hardest throws in the world, but definitely not gimmies. And he was typically very accurate. So I'm kind of leaning towards A. I'm going to go with an A.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this. I think this might be the one play where I think I'm talking about where if he gets out of this quicker, he could not the speed out. That actually this one's with Taylor. You know, you have two verticals here, two guys over the top, and he locks onto it for a little bit too long. And you have Taylor who is open right here. If he gets to it a little bit quicker with the safety sitting with that much depth, doesn't get rid of the ball and has to pull it down. Now there was some pressure, but I really think by the end of his drop right here, he should get out of this because there's going to be nothing open vertically here. Get the ball there. Again, there was one with Josh Reynolds. I believe it was Josh Reynolds on a speed out, misses him. But overall, again, very, very good. So we'll take it. And we'll talk about him a little bit more coming up. But another super chat. I appreciate it. The Jets lose and we get a lot of super chats and memberships. I don't know what's going on, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Nose Kills says, who worries you the most? Versus the Bills and Allen, the Bills and Allen, Clemens, Stevens, or Adams.
For sure.
Clemens, you're saying?
They really went after him. Remember the game-winning play they had
that play to
year.
secure
right at him with the keeper for Allen. So it was interesting in this game. McDonald only played one more snap than Clemens, and I don't really know what they're going for with that. Maybe it was based on this opponent, like they preferred Clemens and edge setting against. They thought the Steelers would run the ball. They're not as concerned about containing Rodgers and him being a threat outside the pocket. But against Josh Allen, I feel like they're going to run into a lot of issues if they do that again. So I would definitely like to see them separate those two a little bit more because I don't see any reason McDonald should be playing basically the same number of snaps as Clemens.
Yeah. I'm worried about I'm worried about Adams in the open field versus Josh Allen, Stevens versus, Keon. I don't think they're going to move Sauce this week. They'll probably stay more to the left side, I would assume, because there's really not anybody to follow for the Bills, like Shakir and Coleman, whatever. I'm worried about, Coleman with contested catches versus Stevens. And Nani, I don't know if you actually watched the Stevens review I did in the offseason, but there's probably 70 plays in that breakdown. And I think probably 20 of them, I say after 5 to 7 yards, if the receiver's looking back for the ball, do not look back for the ball, play through the guys, play through the hands. And it's exactly what happened in this game, at least 2 times, but one specific time with Calvin Austin down the field. I don't know why he looks back for the ball after so long. So it's not like, he can't find the ball identified. It's the fact that he looks back for the ball last second and the ball drops right over his head and then he's, oh shit, and tries to throw his hands up. But if he just played through the hands of the receivers, he would get PDs. So he's such a frustrating player to watch because there are some relatively simple fixes that he can do to his game. But if you don't take the coaching, you don't take the coaching. They could tell you 1,000 times. If you don't do it, you don't do it. I would love to be in a fly on the wall in their meetings and see exactly what they're telling him. But quite literally, he would eliminate 70% of his contested catch problems if, again, after receivers looking back for the ball after 5 yards. Don't look back for it. You're excluded from looking back to the ball. Play through his hands, and he'd be so much better. But here we are. We'll keep running through the chat, and I appreciate the super chat nose kills. But yeah, I would say Clemens because of what Nania said. Stevens probably second, but all of them are concerning. Those are probably your 3 players you're the most concerned with on the defense. Yeah. So David says also Gipson stood up and I think I already did this. He technically fumbled twice. Did he got on the ground? Was he not touched on that play? But he got eaten by
they counted him down, but it was a close call.
He got tripped up by the turf monster again there. If he just continues up the right sideline, he's probably gone. He just falls down. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great return because he found a hole, but you left 50 yards or 60 yards on the table there and a touchdown. So brutal. My own mind, if Garrett is going to be paid a top 5 receiver, he needs to hang on to that ball. Yeah, my own mind. Some people try to excuse Garrett Wilson, but I'm with you, dude. If he's going to be paid a top 5, top 10 guy, the ball is in his hands. And what happens is, if you watch the playback, he jumps up to catch it, which he always does, which I don't love. He doesn't look the ball in, and he kind of like double catches it, like double clutches it, and that's why the ball is not secure. And Ramsey does a good job putting his helmet right into the catch point and knocking that ball out there. But like you said, man, like if you're a top 5 guy, paid like a top 5, top 10 guy, you got to catch balls like that. You know, like you have that play, you have the play versus Steelers last year. He a ball hits him in the hands and he drops it and it's a pick. So Garrett had a great game minus a very big mistake. And people could say, oh yeah, Fields run for it. And I get it, because in that situation, you'd probably want him to, because it's like a guaranteed first down instead of putting the ball in the air, literally, or the play in the air. So yeah, run it, but you can't blame him. Like, he hit Garrett Wilson and he's wide open. Garrett Wilson has to look at that ball in and hold on to the ball with his dear life, and he doesn't. So Garrett Wilson needs to perform in those type of situations. It's something that's been a little bit lacking from him in terms of like dropping the ball. Like the Niners game last year, the first game of the year, there's multiple plays where he could have gotten toe taps in, didn't, just stepped out of bounds. So Garrett's great, but these type of plays hold him back from being that top 5 guy. And this is why he's more in that 10 to 15 range for me personally, until he can consistently make plays like this one that my own mind is talking about.
Do you think that he could have come back to that ball a little bit more? Are you okay with him kind of following the trajectory he was on? He started fading. Fields kind of let him, but it was in a spot where he could have come back a little bit. So how do you feel about that aspect of that play?
Yeah, well, he's just running a drag, and yeah, like I'm okay with it. Like he's wide open. Yeah, he starts to fade a little bit, but like the ball is in his chest. Like, and again, it's a little bit hard to see from this angle. I had to play it like multiple times on like frame by frame to see exactly how he caught the ball. Let me see if I could slow it down here and try to show you guys that he doesn't look the ball in. Let me see. Jumps again. I don't love the jump catches. Just attack the ball, like come to the ball. Don't jump catch with your body. But you can kind of see that his eyes don't follow the ball in. He starts to look up the field. It's hard to see the double catch at this point, but yeah, gets knocked out. 4th and 3, massive play. I don't have a problem with him like drifting up the field like that. He's open enough where it doesn't really affect it. But yeah, brutal. Again, those are the type of plays that make him a top 10 to 15 guy for me, not top 5, because he has the potential to be, no doubt. So Crispy, hey guys, go Jets, A+ content, always representing our Jets team, etc. Like, support the channel, they deserve it. Appreciate that, Chris, as always. David says, if Stevens is struggling, and this is kind of what I was going to lump this into the Tony Adams, or not the Tony Adams, the Xavier Gipson conversation in terms of Aaron Glenn, holding guys accountable. If Stevens is still struggling this much versus Calvin Austin, how the hell will he survive with teams like the Bucks, Dolphins, Cowboys, Bengals? Yeah, we'll see. Again, he's always there. Like, his coverage is really good. He just can't get it. He just doesn't know how to play a ball in the air in terms of playing the receiver's eyes, the hands, or the actual ball. But my question too, and again, kind of getting onto this, is like, if he plays like this for another 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, like, do they bench him for Azaria Thomas, who initially in camp made some noise, was a little bit more quiet the last month or two of camp, didn't really see a lot of him in preseason, but we know that it's easier to bench and cut guys like Xavier Gipson who are making no money. But now when it comes to a guy, Brandon Stevens, making, $36 million, I believe, over 2 years or whatever it is, 34, something like that, maybe 32. I forget the exact numbers, but quite a bit of money to play corner too. At what point do you pull the plug if he keeps playing like this? Or what point does Nania do it? And what point do you think the Jets would do it, based on, again, them preaching accountability, but also having to factor in the contract? Like that undoubtedly comes into it a little bit.
I mean, I would almost do it after this next game. Maybe because it's Buffalo, I'll cut him a little bit of slack. But then you got Tampa Bay after that, and then you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So that's just kind of the NFL. So I don't know how many teams you could really cut that slack for. This was about as easy as it should get for the Jets. So, like you said in your review, I remember watching a good chunk of it, and that's what adds some appeal to the signing, is that his issues are fixable enough to where he could conceivably be good, because he does have good coverage, and his shortcomings are things where it's not like he's too short, too slow, things like that. It's just technique that he can fix. But we're here, he's going in his 5th season, he's going to be 28 later this year, and season opener, we're still seeing those same things. It just makes me think that it's just not going to happen for whatever reason. Does he not take to coaching? Is it just something innate in his game that is not, he's not able to work around, even if he knows that he should be better at it? I don't know what it is, but at this point, is hard to buy into the fact that he'll be better. So we'll see.
Yeah.
They like Thomas, obviously, taking him in the third round, despite not really needing that position per se. Preseason or in training camp, obviously had some injuries, didn't get a ton of playing time, but it will get to a certain point. If these types of performances continue for Stevens, then it's hard to really get much worse. So it makes it worth just gambling with the rookie. So I think maybe they give it like, I would say the half season mark, unless it's this every single, like 2 touchdowns a week. Obviously, you'll probably change something, but I don't think he'll give up 2 touchdowns a game. So, it depends on how consistently bad he is. And, with Josh Allen coming in, maybe it will continue to be like that. So, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
concerned with, is it possible at this point for him to turn these things around, considering he's still struggling with them?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And you also had the drop pick. You had the play where he was in like cover 2 and he slips before he makes a tackle, and then you have Warren, who should have like a 4-yard gain. It turns into, I don't even know, 15, 20 yards, like just so many bad plays. And this is one of the examples of him just turning his head too late again. If he just if receiver, like, and you could see that the receiver starts looking back for the ball a little bit after the 20, like let's just say like the 17-yard line. As soon as you get to about the 5-yard mark, don't look back for the ball. Like 5 to 7 yards, do not look back. What happens is he looks back at the very last second. Let's see if you can see it from this angle a little bit better. And because of that, if he just played through the hands here, he probably has a pass deflection, but he looks back at the last second, and then loses it. It's just like, it's just such a simple fix for him. I think that it is beyond brutal and frustrating to watch. I remember getting frustrated during the actual review of him, and now to see it come to fruition with the Jets too, definitely pretty annoying. Matthew Ray, I'll throw this in here. Pray for Charlie Kirk, for sure, man. I don't know if you saw that, Nanya, but yeah, let's stop shooting people because they have different opinions than you. That's what I'll say. It's quite ridiculous at this point in our time. But yeah, prayers. I heard he's stable. I don't know if that's true. He got shot right in the neck, so not ideal. But yeah, prayers up for him for sure. What about that hit by Ball and special teams? That was awesome. I'm trying to think of what tackle
He knocked
exactly
a
on
fumble
special
out
teams.
on kick return.
Oh yeah, and then it
Pittsburgh got
bounces
back.
immediately
Yeah.
into a Steelers
Yeah.
hand, like immediately, like not even a roll, nothing. It almost like when you see like quarterbacks like throw the ball into the ground and come back up to him. It almost looked like they planned it. Like it's just I don't know how it happens for the teams. Great Jets shark. Does Breece's performance justify him getting even more snaps than Braylon? Braylon has a TD but didn't perform like Breece. Yeah, no, Breece definitely played better than Braylon Allen. And like I've said before, in their reps so far throughout this point in their career, Isaiah Davis has proven more to me than Allen has. Now, I will defend Allen in this game. It seems like every time he got the ball, it wasn't the most ideal situation for him to gain yards, but Isaiah Davis had that one run of like 15 yards, and I know it was like 3rd and 20, but he did a really, really good job of setting up the nose tackle to get more yardage there. So Isaiah Davis to me is the better player as of right now. But while also saying that, I recognize that Allen has a higher ceiling because of his physical makeup, but Breece should definitely be over Braylon quite a bit now. And again, I would argue for a guy, minus the short yardage situations, I would argue for Isaiah Davis getting more reps than Allen. And I'm not saying I dislike Allen. It's just, again, did reviews of both of them. They're both out there, and Allen and Davis rep by rep was better, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and I was having a hard time projecting going into the season what that split would look like. In my predictions, I ended up going with Allen getting more carries just because it didn't seem like they were the highest on Hall, just because of the fact that Glenn would even acknowledge trade talk and hinting at the committee and everything. So I thought it would be close between them, but I slightly pushed it towards Allen in terms of carries, with Breece obviously getting more pass game work. But yeah, after this game, Hall clearly looked like ahead of Allen and the best of the 3 backs. And Isaiah Davis, like you said, I'm a fan of his as well. And, I think especially with his blocking, and Allen blocked well too. He had some good blocking plays, but, 3rd down option,
Yeah.
I think Isaiah Davis really earned himself some playing time and reps with that as well. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how they, mold this backfield to the performance we got in this game, because Breece was amazing. Isaiah Davis, great on third down. Allen's carries. He didn't get the best blocking sometimes, but not the greatest, obviously, relative to Breece. So curious to see how this shapes up as the season goes on.
Yeah, no, he had that really nice block, filling in Davis. And even during the preseason, I think we mentioned it. Like, if you look at a lot of the preseason, when it was third down, who came in to do the pass blocking reps? It was Isaiah Davis. So I think he's their third down passing back. But gave credit to Breece. I think he had a few good pass reps in there. And even Allen had a few good pass reps in there. So it seems like they're emphasizing like some physicality from the running backs and pass pro. So we like that. Best Breece look as a runner post ACL. He had a good year. Like 2023 was a good year for Breece though too. So let me just pull up his game log from 2023 and try to remember, because I know he had a ton of yards versus the Pats, right? That was 2023.
Yeah.
Let's look at his 2023 season. I'm gonna try to highlight some games here. I'll share the screen. Let's talk about some of these games and see if we can refresh our memory a little bit of Breece's season in 2023 and see if there's any games that we can remember. Let's see here. Buffalo 10 for 127 was pretty good to start off. Cleveland 13 for 84 is pretty good. 37 for 178. I can't remember if specifically he looked better in those games or in this game, but nonetheless, obviously very, very encouraging. And I think if this is him for the rest of the season, we're talking about a top 10 running back. So obviously great. So after cutting Gipson, at least we know that AG will probably be quick to bench guys that aren't playing well. You have to hope so. Again, it's the true test is going to come with Stevens if he continues to struggle, because again, it's easy with a UDFA who was the 53rd out of 53 guys probably. Not so easy when it's a corner who you paid for multiple years. So we'll see exactly what happens. I feel like Breece always busts out a big run at the beginning of every season. Oh yeah, at least at the last three, right? Did he bust out a big run last year?
Last year? I know he had a touchdown.
I don't think he did
against the Niners. I don't think it was the first. I don't think he had a good first play, but he did have that score. So there was that.
David says, not sure about you guys, but watching the Bills makes me so mad. We kept Gipson over Codrington. Is he doing work over there? Codrington with the Bills?
Yeah, he had another nice return this week, I know, when I was watching.
Yeah, because we had to keep Gipson, because Gipson proved something in camp or whatever it was, while Codrington during the actual games played much better. But here we are. Hopefully Isaiah Williams can do it, or Arian Smith or Isaiah Davis or whoever. Why? Like, I don't, did Pritchett suck in camp? Like, why are they not elevating Pritchett? I'm not sure exactly, but was surprised to see Breece be the workhorse after their preaching committee all offseason. They rode the hot hand. I think that's what they're going to do. Like, I think it's a thing where it's going to be very malleable. Like, if Braylon comes in and is dominating, they'll leave him in. If it's Isaiah Davis dominating, they'll leave him in. First game, Breece is going to get, or all these games, Breece is going to get the first crack at stacking together a few runs. But he should get the first opportunity because he has the highest ceiling of all these guys. So. Do you think that JJ will return to his old form or be our Kobe stopper for Josh Allen? Talking about JJ, he didn't look like he lost anything in terms of the explosion and stuff. Now, can the Achilles and stuff stay intact? Can he keep that explosion up for the entire year? We have to wait to see that. But nonetheless, like, really good game from JJ, setting the edge on a few plays. He had a spin move against Fatano. Creating pressure, and then you had Quinn Williams step up for the sack there. I think he also had another rush where he had a pressure, but really encouraging signs for a lot of the defensive line, but specifically JJ here post Achilles injury. Have to be really happy with what he showed, obviously.
Yeah, and it's also noticeable they played him 89% of the snaps, the highest of his entire career. So clearly they're confident in him to come into the season. And I think that's notable because, they also played Q 77%, which is not the highest of his career, but up there. And compared to what he usually played in the previous regime, that's high. So they showed they're willing to play these two guys high snap counts, which with this makeup of the depth chart, they don't have a lot of pass rush depth. I think it makes sense. So I'm still curious as to why they didn't do that with McDonald, who only played a little bit over half of the snaps in this game. So going forward, I would like to see more McDonald snaps for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said with McDonald, like you saw the one bull rush by him getting the sack. You had the one spin move for a sack. If that power is legit that he added, he's a guy. Again, I'm not predicting this because who predicts 20 sacks in a season? But if I told you that he had 20 sacks this year, he's already on pace for 34. But he has ridiculous bend, really good length, speed, explosion, flexibility. He adds power to that. Watch out. So McDonald looked awesome too. Obviously, Quinn Williams had a sack, a really nice play in his screen game where he shut down the screen. He had a really nice play on a pitch to his right, blew that play up. He had another play where they tried to run a guard trap on him, recognized the guard trap, blew up that play. Like Q was back to his old form. A little bit of a down year last year, specifically at the beginning. JJ was great. McDonald were great. So a lot of encouraging signs from the defensive line. I think Harrison Phillips played okay. Nothing really to write home about. A few nice plays just holding up in the middle. Briggs had a tackle for a loss. There was a stuff. Briggs had a nice play in there. So what do you think about the rest of the defensive line? Clemens, no penalties. That's a positive.
Yep, always a positive for him. But yeah, I think the run defense was a positive, and you could already see the impact of adding those two guys, having Harrison Phillips, having Jawan Briggs, especially Phillips. I really think that we're going to see the impact of Q playing next to a guy like that who could, he just consumes space. He's not going to get many sacks this year or even pressures. It's not his game, but he's someone you have to account for, and he knows how to eat up blockers, and that's going to create some room for Q. And I think we already saw some impact of that in this game. And the defense as a whole, they only gave up 2.7 yards a carry, which is great, obviously. And I still feel like Leonard Taylor deserves some snaps because the pass rush depth is a concern. They didn't get any pressures from the D-line outside of the big three that we talked about. None from anybody else. And you have Leonard Taylor sitting there as a healthy scratch. I would play him over Tufele. I don't think Tufele did too much in this game. The Steelers ran the ball better when he was on the field. Got some push on him a few times. So I really don't see the justification for that one. It's it's not a Gipson level blunder, I guess, but it's to me pretty obvious that Leonard Taylor offers more to you than Tufele. So we'll see if they could get him out there at some point.
Yeah, no, that's. I think you put that in an article, right? In terms of the defensive line with getting no pressure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that needs to happen. And Leonard Taylor was out there for very few snaps, if any. I think I remember seeing him maybe once. I don't remember.
He was a healthy scratch. Yeah.
Oh, he was a scratch. Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe one, but maybe obviously it wasn't him because he was a scratch. But yeah, I would like to see him because I think he's a better rusher than everybody they have as backup defensive lineman. Or everybody other than Q, really, So, we'll keep going through the chat. Also, on the 2-point on conversion, Taylor and Rucker ran into each other. They ran into each other. You also had a bust by the Steelers defense there. They both took Garrett Wilson. That was not on purpose. It wasn't like a bracket where they both just took him. Somebody was supposed to carry the tight end there. The motion jacked him up a little bit, and you had Mason Taylor who was running completely wide open. Now after a little bit of time because him and Rucker ran into each other, but he had the bust there, and Fields forced it a little bit to Garrett. Floated it up there. Didn't love that decision by Fields, but again, that's like one of his, I would say 3 or 4 questionable plays at quarterback. So overall, obviously still a great game. Beloved P said, "How did Josh Myers look at center?" I think perfectly average, right? Like, I don't know what the numbers say or anything like that. I think in the running game, he was okay. In the pass game, he was okay. So I thought he was fine, which is great. And again, do not misconstrue me with me saying that he's a better player than Tippmann, because I'm not saying that at all. The one thing that I think will improve now at center is the communication, the picking up of stunts and blitzes, because that's one thing that Tippmann has struggled with to this point in his career. So while you're going to lose a lot as a run blocker at that position, I do think the communication in that aspect will improve. And I think he was perfectly fine. Maybe I missed something. Maybe the numbers say he allowed a bunch of pressures or something like that, but I thought he was okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought from watching. I really felt like going throughout the game that I didn't think any offensive lineman stood out as below average. Some stood out really positively. I think Membu was definitely a standout. I think Simpson had a good game. and Tippmann as well. Olu gave up some pressures, but overall, I think he was solid. But yeah, Myers in the middle of all that didn't stand out as a liability to me. And if that's what he's going to be, that would be a huge positive. We'll see if he maintains that, obviously, but just for this one game was not a liability. And I think it's also positive. It hit me after watching this game a couple times, but no bad snaps really at all from Myers. And with the Jets running the offense the way that they do, with a heavy zone read from Justin Fields, where he's got to catch that ball and immediately stick it in the running back's chest to make a decision, that those high snaps could completely blow up those plays if they still tip in there. So I'm not saying they're better without Elijah Vera-Tucker or with Josh Myers at center, but that is something that I think is particularly beneficial for this offense because they run so much zone read. To have accurate snaps and let Justin Fields get into that without having to, reach above his head to catch the ball, I think is it definitely has an impact. So we'll see. They really survived the AVT injury well in this game. Over the course of the year, we'll see how that affects them, how much of a drop off there is because of how Myers plays, or just lacking a guy like AVT and his really playmaking ability as a guy who can make the blocks that he can. So we'll see. But for this one game, I really liked how they worked through that.
Yeah, no doubt. There really weren't many miscues as a pass, as a group. So, looked great. Andrew says, Joe, saw you on Jake's show yesterday. Awesome breakdown as always. Appreciate that. How about Beast? Yeah, he brought on another guy to do breakdowns. That was quite interesting. I think I'll maintain my spot there doing some breakdowns. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Beast may edge me out. David says, not sure if you looked at it, but on the last drive when he threw it to Reynolds, he could have maybe tried Mason Taylor, even though it would have been a tough throw. Yeah, David, I believe I highlighted that actually. So I think you probably came in late, but on the right side of the field, which was his first read, there was 2 vertical routes versus 2 high, or 3 high, but it was a single high, middle of the field closed, and a outside third. So that play wouldn't have been open. I hope he got his eyes quicker to Mason Taylor. He could have hit Mason Taylor in the middle of the field. He didn't. Locked on to his first read a little bit too much. So you give him a negative for that play. But again, there was probably like 2 or 3 of those plays. I'm like, okay, get off the first read quicker and that type of stuff. But overall, obviously, still a very good game. I feel like the first throw was nerves, all the above. The first throw was probably nerves, and you're just getting a feel for the game. It's not easy to start off hot, MC2 versus Shakir is an important matchup for us to win. You're hoping so, right? MC2 is a top 10 or top 3 to 5 slot corner in the league. I know he had that missed tackle on the screen, but past that, do you remember the play where I think he was going to run blitz? He takes on Troy Fatano 1-for-1, stacks him, sheds him, and then makes a tackle. I'll bring it up if you don't remember.
I do remember that one.
He had that play, and then he also had the play where, I think Calvin Austin's in motion. It's the play he almost got the pick on. That was such a hard play for him to cover because of how the motion, worked out. Where he's put in a really hard spot. Did a really good job staying patient over the top, matched the break, got underneath, nearly got a pick. So he missed the tackle, but I can't really kill him past that, right? I don't think he had a great game because that one play was big. But you can't crush MC2 for this game too much past that.
Yeah, and I think you trust his track record enough that he'll be fine. And I feel like athletically he looked good. He made mistakes, obviously, but he did, to me, look faster than he did last season when he was playing. He was playing injured for a lot of that year, and that contributed to his struggle. So he looked really fresh. So I'm pretty comfortable that he's going to be fine. There are other things that we talked about that are a little more questionable in terms of whether they can turn around. But Carter is the one area you could look at where, okay, in this game, you struggled a little bit, contributed to why you gave up some points, but you feel comfortable that that's going to normalize and bounce back going forward. So he had that one play, a nice pass breakup, but potential great interception that he could have had undercutting that route. Wasn't able to get that one. So I'm pretty confident that he should be fine.
Yeah, like look at this play. Like just watch, and I don't think you can see the cursor when I highlight it, but watch the right tackle, and then watch Michael Carter II fly into him, take him on, shed the block, and then not only that, but he also defeats the stiff arm. Like there's a reason that the running back goes off balance right there. It's because he tries to stiff arm Michael Carter. He defeats it and makes a tackle. Like he's still a very good player. I'm not concerned about Michael Carter in the least. So we'll be good there. I'm curious what you guys think about Harrison Phillips. Didn't send out a ton. I think he held his ground, plenty well. Like Soldier said, he had plenty of double teams, but like he said, I think, did you say something on Twitter? Like you love his answers and stuff. He seems like a really good leader, really insightful, thoughtful. And he said, like, I hope this is my worst game as a Jet. And he even really played bad. Like, I think he just played okay. He's only had like 2 padded practices, I think he said the other day. So Phillips is going to be a beastly run stuffer. I'm not concerned about him. Obviously, again, it wasn't even a bad game. Didn't stand out so much, but I would say he held his ground pretty well. So.
Yeah, I think he's due for a little more in the pass rush. It's not his game, but he can give you a little bit in terms of pressure. You didn't get that in this game. So that might be what he was focused on. Because I thought run defense-wise, you definitely felt the impact. I mean, the Jets didn't give up a 10-plus yard run in this game, and that's pretty impressive against a team that wanted to establish that run game with Aaron Rodgers back there. So run defense was promising.
Beloved Pizza, does it mirror as Isaiah Davis look better than Braylon Allen running the ball? Obviously, in this game, yes, because I think Isaiah Davis only had maybe 1 carry, and Braylon Allen had 4 or 5 maybe, but like none of them were blocked up well for Allen, so I'll defend him a little bit. But again, in my opinion, at this point, Davis is the better runner, but we'll see what happens. What is your opinion on the late hit from Williams? I'll throw it to you first, Nania. The late hit on Williams, and actually, yeah, you get into it first. I feel like I'm gonna throw it to you first, and then I do, but then I answer the question, and you get it second anyway. So I'll actually throw it to you first this time and let you hit this one first.
I mean, in terms of whether it was a penalty, I feel like it was. I mean, it wasn't the worst of all time, and this might be one of those penalties where, I've talked about this. I think the Jets did a good job limiting penalties in this game, but in general, they might still be a fairly penalty-heavy team because that's just a byproduct of how they want to play. In this game, they did a good job limiting the pre-snap stuff, that's the main thing. But I think you might see some of these, and I don't think it was egregious, but I do think it was a penalty. It was, I think, a major turning point, though, because, at that point, the Jets were up were they still up 2 scores at that point, or was it 1 touchdown? But either way, I know they just scored a touchdown. You had a 2-yard loss on first down, and the Steelers did not really get out of those throughout this game. If the Jets could get the early loss play, they generally forced a punt, got a stop after that, and you had to stop, and then you gave them momentum, and they scored a touchdown. So that was a pivotal play. But it wasn't the worst of all time, but I do think it was a penalty, and that might just happen sometimes. And Quincy had a good game overall, I think, outside of that.
Yeah, it's like a thing where like I understand the penalties if they're aggressive because it's like helmet to helmet or defenseless receiver or some DPIs, things like that. But you got to be smarter near the sideline, right? Like he's running out of bounds, he's giving himself up. You got to lighten up there. Now the only thing that pisses me off about that though is, and like, I guess shame on the refs first, but also Mahomes, dude. Like Mahomes, I don't know if it was last year, the play where he runs to the sideline, stops at the last second, kind of jump cuts, gets back inside for another 20 yards or wherever that was. And then the game against, I believe, the Chargers, he's running out of bounds. The defender lightens up and he trucks him over. And it's like, dude, like you're like, it pisses me off that he's taking advantage of the playbook like that. So he's starting to frustrate me a little bit. So I guess it's hard, but you got to be smarter near the sideline. It just is what it is. But yeah, not great. Q had a stump toe and had to be on the sidelines in goal line formation at a critical point in the game. Obviously, I can't speak to how badly his toe was hurt and stuff like that. I'm assuming if he could have been out there, he would have. Maybe he could have been out there anyway with a stump toe, but how bad you stump your toe that you have to go out of a game. Like I get if you dislocated it or you broke it or anything like that, but like a stump toe, typically you stump your toe, it's only like a couple of seconds, it hurts, but nonetheless. David says, is Phillips a free agent? If so, he's definitely a no-brain to resign, assuming He has a good season. He is a free agent after this year, right? I think this is last year with the Vikings. Or is it 2
I
years?
just looked it up. They do have him for another year at
Oh.
$7.5 million cap hit next year.
Oh yeah, lock him in. Yeah. They say again, assuming he is what he was with the Vikings, because I have to say that now because Tyron Smith looked great and then sucked the next year, so you never know from year to year. But if Phillips is a free agent, he's a guy. Yeah, they, like Nani said, they have him for next year for, what do you say, 7.5? RJ said you might have already answered this, but how did Myers look as a run blocker? I think he looked fine. I don't think he looked bad or great. I think he was just there, and that's completely fine when you have a bunch of other really good players next to you. So you'll definitely take it. I guess we'll go through the rest of the game a little bit and just highlight some things. Quarterback, or anything else you want to hit on? Justin Fields again, really good, like poise, accuracy, stepping up through the pocket, changing some plays, hitting the deep over on the Yankee concept. Again, missed Mason Taylor, missed Josh Reynolds on and out, missed Garrett Wilson, locked into Garrett Wilson for a 2-point. Those are the bad plays at the top of my head, but overall a very good game. Mason Taylor hitting him on the sail concept, on the sail route, was very good. The throw to Jeremy Rucker, 3rd and 3, was excellent. Great game from him. Anything else to add from Fields before we kind of just run through the rest of the roster and then maybe talk about the Bills a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious what you think in terms of, like, how sustainable do you think this is, and what are your concerns in terms of sustainability? Because, for me, and we've done a bunch of shows over the past month plus, but we've generally been, or at least I would say, I don't want to say pessimistic about Fields, but I've just kind
realistic.
of been, realistic. Yeah, that's the word I'm just going to use, because I'm not saying this guy can't play quarterback, isn't a starter. Some people act like he can't throw the football, but his production is what it is. It's bottom tier starter. You have 4 years of that with incremental progress, but not, particularly enormous or anything. So, I was dead set on that, and that's who he would be. But then he comes out, and in this first game, he gives you a performance like that, and it kind of shifts your perception a little bit. And it's only one game. Obviously, we know that, but you do feel different when this is all you've seen of him in a Jets uniform. It does give you some optimism, especially, because of the things I said earlier. You compare this to past Jets quarterback performances, and this is, you can make the argument it's above anything that the previous 3 starters showed. So given all of that, like, how do you feel in terms of whether this is sustainable, and what are the things you want to see sustained for him to continue playing at least close to this, even if not this every week?
Yeah, obviously, I think the run game being as dominant as it was is obviously a huge part of that, because the teams will start focusing on the run and giving him a little bit easier throwing windows. It's not like they took a lot of deep shots, right? Like, they only took that one deep shot to Garrett Wilson. I'm anticipating them throwing some more in there with Arian Smith, but they kind of lived like short to intermediate. And I think they'll do that all season. It didn't feel like they did anything overly complex with Fields. It was a lot of 1-2, get to your check down, which we anticipated being. So you have to, I think the sustainability, like the concern about it is this is their first game, new Fields in a new offense, Tanner Angstrand coaching a new team. Like, once teams start to get tape on what the Jets like to do, are they going to be able to shut it down? That's the thing. How does he build off of his concepts? Because we know what made the McVay tree and the Rams and the Vikings also successful is, they run the same play over and over again. Teams think they have them, and then they run something that's like opposite of what they anticipate the defense doing. Like, and I brought up on Jake's show, it's not this simple always, but you can kind of simplify it. But like, there's one concept: you keep running the slot receiver, corner. Okay, now that team throws in a beater for that corner route, and now it's a corner post. Boom, the safety jumps, and now you have a corner post for a 70-yard touchdown. Like, that's what makes the really good coaches good, is adjusting to the adjustments and kind of trying to pinpoint when those adjustments are going to be made by the defense. So it's all about it's a lot of it is Angstrand. And I think Fields just remaining confident in the running game, remaining good. And I think they can sustain this, because I don't think they asked him to do too much in the passing game, right? It's not like he was doing anything outstanding. Like, oh my God, this is some game. Like, and it was a really good game, but overall, like, there wasn't so many plays where like there was elite process or anything like that. Like he kind of just hit guys that were open. They ran the ball well. So like, I don't have concern about Justin Fields. It's more about, the sustainability from Engstrand and making it easy for Justin Fields like he did. Again, it was a lot of 1-2 read, get it to your check down. So we'll see. I think it's a lot of Engstrand and a lot of the offensive line holding up and the running game holding up in terms of the offensive success. So we'll see. Okay, let's see. Where was I at? Phillips free agent. Okay, yeah, I'm past that, I think. Rucker's best game as a pro. I guess we can kind of flex into the tight end position. Dude, Rucker, excellent game, right? 3rd and 3. He has that play. And here, I'll just share my entire screen because I'm going to pull up multiple plays of him. I'll just share the entire thing. I got nothing to hide over here. I'll pull up some Rucker plays, but you have the play of him. You have the play of him on the touchdown from Garrett Wilson. He chips TJ Watt. Really good play there. He has the contested catch over the middle where the ball is a little bit behind him. He gets hit, hangs onto the ball. He has a 3rd and 3 contest where he chips TJ Watt on that one really well, and then adjusts to a ball 3rd and 3. And not only on that play did he catch that contested ball on 3rd and 3, Nania, but something I noticed when I'm actually doing the review is he catches the ball and he falls forward. If he doesn't fall forward, he's tackled short of the line to gain there, but he falls forward. So hell of awareness by him there. And then also
I just remember when that happened live, I was like, good job, Taylor. Let's go. Because you couldn't see which white tight end it was. And then when I saw it was Rucker, I was like, wow. I'm shocked.
And not only on that one, what was the play? I'm trying to think of the play. It was the one where he fields like he works up and through the pocket and then hits Garrett Wilson. I'm trying to think of exactly what play that was so I could show his effort on that one as well. It was the play where after he sneaked in for the touchdown. I'm trying to remember exactly what one it was. I don't know. I'll find it in a second. But on this play, he chips and releases against TJ Watt, and then he's sprinting down the field to throw a block for Garrett Wilson. So an excellent game for Rucker, and I think quite easily his best game as a pro, right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of well-rounded play, because we saw 2 solid catches and pass protection and run blocking. Definitely his best. I mean, he's had good blocks in the league before, but a full game where you could say Rucker was a plus for you, I don't think that's happened before. So, yeah, and it's kind of out of nowhere because there wasn't much indication of it from preseason or what we heard in training camp, or though maybe he was good in training camp, but we just didn't hear much of it. But we'll see if he can sustain it. It's just one game for now. This is definitely one of those things that, you want to see sustain. That's a little surprising at this point, but credit where it's due because we criticize him a lot, but this was a good performance from him.
Yeah. And you can see my screen right now, right? You can see the play. Yeah, so I think you can see my cursor, but Jeremy Rucker's attached on the bottom right here. And just watch the effort. One, the chip on TJ Watt is excellent. And then watch the effort after to run down the field and try to and throw a block for Garrett Wilson. Like you got to be really happy with how he played, how he blocked TJ Watt, the effort, the hands that he showed. He showed awful hands in the past, and now look at him with those catches that he made. Obviously, the 3rd and 3 being more impressive, but listen and like. Yeah, obviously and with the Justin Fields stuff, like I already had a person here who's like, oh, like I told you so, you guys are idiots. Justin Fields, like we have to go based on what we see. And through his first couple of years, he hasn't been great. Like, and with same thing with Rucker, like his first 3 years, he's been terrible. But realistically, like we want these guys to work out, right? Like I know we're owners of a website and we all get paid to do this and all this stuff. And we need to make content, whatever else it is. But like, I think first and foremost, still at this point, even though we're analysts or whatever you want to call us, we're still Jets fans first and foremost. So like, I don't want to say, Rucker has sucked since then. And since I said he sucked his first 3 years, I want him to suck in his 4th year. Like, no, I want him to become Travis Kelce, like ideally, but like, I'm not just like, oh yeah, well, I've been saying that. It's like, no, I've been saying it because it's true. If he turns around, then great. But like, you're getting the people like, oh, you've said Rucker sucked. It's like, yeah, he did suck, but obviously a great start to the season. Can he sustain? It's the biggest question. So, let's see. Why do you think a lot of beat reporters said Fields looked really bad in camp and then comes out and looks like this? The offense, the running, he's never had a running game like this. He's never had an offensive line like this. He's maybe, and again, it's only one game. He's never had an OC like this. So I think just like Darnold, his first couple of years, like it was so hard to evaluate Darnold at times because the team around him, 32nd ranked offensive line, 32nd ranked run game, all the awful receivers. So it's a little bit hard to evaluate. So he was put in bad situations his first couple of years, and he showed a little bit more with the Steelers last year. Still got benched for a reason, but I think he's in the most ideal spot he's ever been in. He had a very good game, his first game. Obviously, hopefully he sustains it because it's not like his career has been absent of these type of performances, right? Like there was moments in his first and second year where Bears fans were like, "Oh, we got our guy," and I remember sitting there with Darnold being like, "Shit," like there with Zach Wilson, like, "Shit, we picked the wrong guy." So he had those flashes for sure. But I think a large part of it is the fact that what he's surrounded with, like this is a pretty good infrastructure for him to be surrounded with, minus like, little nitpicks we have of like, and I wouldn't call them nitpicks. Realistically, they're real concerns, but like tight end to receiver depth type stuff. But overall, you're talking about, a top 10 offensive line with a top running game, at least in this game. It's going to do wonders for the quarterback. So I think part of the situation and part of Justin Fields playing well and giving credit, but I don't think the beat reporters are so wrong because he's a little bit, wishy-washy sometimes, but also like Nani has the war against beat reporters sometimes, and especially with practice stuff, but you can't trust what a lot of them are saying at practice, and you don't know what they're working on versus practice. Like, hey,
right.
Let's try this play that's not going to ever beat cover 4, but just in case cover 4 is played versus play, let's see if we can adjust to it and beat it somehow. Like you don't know what's happening, so take what you hear from beat reporters, unless it's Sabo, with a grain of salt. That's kind of how I know Nani feels, and that's how I feel as well. So
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say as well, because I think when it comes to practice, there's a misconception for fans that they're going out there and they're trying to rack up points on the defense and win. Well, it doesn't go like that. And I think in the case of Fields, and don't get this as me saying I wasn't concerned about what came out of camp or that he wasn't bad, because even Sabo did say that he struggled. And, whether it's just missing throws, like flat out inaccurate, like that's struggling. So I'm not saying, that I wasn't concerned either. But I do think, as we sit here now, like you don't get to see any of the running ability in training camp, or at least the full extent of it, because there isn't full contact, and you don't get to see plays whistled dead that, like the sack he spun out of early in this game, that's just going to get whistled in a practice. But in a real game, you could see what a guy like Justin Fields can do with that. And then, like you said, I think is the main point. It's practice. They're not trying to win. They know Justin Fields can do zone read. They know what he's capable of. They don't really need to work on that as much as let's hammer down the stuff where he's not as good. So we don't know what they're working on, what their goals are in practice. It's not as simple as here's his completion percentage or his touchdowns in practice and things like that. So I think that is what could cause the disconnect. But at the same time, it is what it is. It's a shocking performance. No one expected this because he did struggle, and we'll see if he could sustain it or if this is a one-off. But, it's somewhere in between that. It's definitely still surprising because he struggled with his accuracy at times in camp. And at the same time, you also don't see the full extent of what I think the offense is supposed to look like in training camp.
Yeah, so I mentioned a few plays with Breece or with and this is I found the other one. I was trying to think about it. I was like, I remember there's another one. There was a speed out that he missed. There was the one to Mason Taylor. This is another one that I talk about in the review where there's a stick concept to the bottom with 3 receivers here, and I don't know why I just did that, but I'll try to play it again. But Garrett Wilson has opened up in the seam right here, and he doesn't deliver the ball. I thought he could have fit that ball in there. Again, I go through it in the full review. It's not just that simple. But there were some plays. Obviously, that's the play by Rucker. But again, hopefully for Rucker, it's not a one-off thing. Obviously, just like Fields is not a one-off thing, and hopefully these guys continue. But like you get the comments on Twitter, because you put up some plays and like, oh well, this is because they played together in college. It's like because they play together in college, now Jeremy Rucker can catch contested balls. It's like Justin Fields doesn't make him catch balls. Like I don't know what that means, but. Nonetheless, we'll keep moving on. Definitely his best game as a pro. I would say he looked good. I wouldn't say okay. I think he looked like a good tight end too in this game. So you can't really ask for more than he did with the chips and the contested catches. RJ says, I hope Taylor can get more involved more as the season progresses. He doesn't have to be Laporta. Yeah, I think he'll get involved more. Nice catch on the sail route. Also, what are your thoughts on Taylor in this game in particular, especially as a blocker? I thought he had a pretty good game as a blocker. The one play where Fields holds the ball, pulls it, and then Allen wraps around. Mason Taylor got in the way of two guys that play. I don't know if you remember that one specifically with Mason Taylor, but again, I brought it up in the review, and let me see if that was late in the game, right? I'm pretty sure that was pretty late.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I could find that one off the top, off the wrinkles. Here we go. Like, watch Mason Taylor on this one, and again, I talk about it in the full review. Like, he doesn't have ideal hand positioning, but blocks this guy inside, torques him inside, and then watch him climb to the second level and just get a hand on that linebacker. If that linebacker was there, maybe he makes that tackle on field short of the yard to gain. But Mason Taylor blocks 2 for 1 in that play. So the catch, I thought Mason Taylor was perfectly fine in this game, while obviously not being a huge emphasis of the offense. So, do you think we have a chance versus the Bills? We'll get into that in a little bit. I guess we'll keep running through the team. The running backs, we talked about, Breece looked excellent. Braylon Allen, not a lot of opportunity, but still. Isaiah Davis had the one nice play. Beck, I showed it on Twitter, that really nice adjustment on the play that Membu whiffed. He whiffed on that play, and then Beck made a really nice adjustment to pick up the DN there. So great game by him. Tight ends, we talked about Mason Taylor, talked about Rucker. Didn't see anybody. Did we even see any other tight ends in the game? Njoku was not Njoku. So. What's his face? Wow, I'm not forgetting the names. Jelani Woods was inactive.
Yeah.
How many reps did Smart even see? I don't remember.
Looking at that now. I don't even know if he played. 0.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him. Okay. Yeah. No, I thought tight ends look good. Anything else to add from the offense? So I think Fashanu had a very good game. He still shoots the same kind of punch every time, but he changed up his sets a little bit from like 45 to vertical, vertical to 45, jump sets to vertical. Like, he was changing that a lot. We saw fake punches. We saw circle punches from him, which was great. A lot of him attacking the hip to get guys vertical and out of the pocket, or up the arc, which was great. So I thought Fashanu looked really good on that first Breece Hall run. He had a really, really good combo block to use a ricochet technique, and then picked up the linebacker as well. And I thought something that's been evident so far, at least in this game, and then over the preseason, it seems like he added weight. He said he added like 10 to 15 pounds. And I think it's pretty evident in his anchor. I think his anchor is stronger this year. He just looks like he's it takes like 1 or 2 less steps for him to sink in that anchor. So great game by him. Obviously, Membo, you have to recognize, was it 36 pass reps, no pressures allowed, no hits allowed. Now, out of those 36, there was probably 20, 25 chips on TJ Watt. So that helped quite a bit, but nonetheless, still held up great. I thought Tippmann looked excellent at guard. Myers looked fine at center. I think the weakest link of this offensive line this game was probably Simpson. Like, I think he had a few plays, he got blown up a little bit, but overall still good. So anything you want to add to the offense or any one of those position groups?
Yeah, I just think with Olu, there were some numbers getting pushed around. He gave up like 6 pressures or something like that. And
No.
I guess that's not totally inaccurate, because there were a few times that he got beat a few times. He had the sack in there, but some of those, I think, was more like, he may have given up some initial push, but like you said, he's anchoring down a little bit better and making sure that it doesn't turn into anything that blows up the play. So I think some of those numbers were a little misleading in that, that you see that and it suggests that he played really poorly. But when I was watching the game, I felt like he was, especially because he was drawing tougher assignments. TJ Watt is on that other side, and Membu's getting all the help, almost every single play. TJ Watt had no chance of, not no chance, but I mean, the Jets did everything they could to make sure he didn't affect the passing game. And then you saw in the run game, he was consistently making plays when they went that way. But yeah, Olu, as a byproduct of that, usually didn't have a lot of help. So yeah, he's going to give up a little more pressure. But in general, I think he did a really good job.
Yeah. Past that defensive line, we already hit on it. I know we put out some numbers, or I stole some numbers from somewhere, but Q 5 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, a sack. Jermaine Johnson 4 pressures, quarterback hit. Will McDonald 3 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. Which I think quarterback hits are sacks, right? Like, if you get 2 sacks, you're automatically gonna get 2 quarterback hits.
They get overlapped. So if you get a sack, it's also a quarterback hit. It's also pressure. So it's not like they made 10 plays a piece. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. So defensive line played great, minus again the backups, which Nania brought up. It's a thing where you need to see the backups have a little bit more pass rush juice than they had. Quincy, up and down game, had the penalty. I think also on that one play, the busted coverage for the first touchdown, he got sucked up and probably should have been involved there. One of those guys had to get back and find that route. So it could have been him, could have been Sherwood. But he had a really nice play against a screen, I believe. He had a few nice plays in the run game. So a few splash plays from Quincy. Tony Adams, not a good game. Cisco didn't notice him, which for safeties is usually a good thing. Corners, we talked about it. Sauce was excellent, right? Again, we talked about the lucky plays and stuff. I already mentioned this, but the bobbling catch, ridiculous. And then we know about Stevens. We know about Michael Carter II. Nick Folk, 2 for 2, long of 51. It was it 2 for 2 extra points, even though he did miss one. There's a penalty. And then you have any? I know McNamara or whatever had I saw some charts where he was in the upper tens, I think, of the punters. But do you have any McNamara specific stats from this game? So I think I saw that he played pretty well in this game as well in terms of the hang time, whatever else.
Yeah, well, he only had the couple punts, but the fact that, clutch situation, he gives you a 56-yard fair catch with, fair catches are huge because you eliminate that return opportunity. They could still muff it. So you love to get those and 56 yards with it. So he looks like the real deal, but hopefully we don't see too much from him this year. If we didn't in this game, it would be nice if we only see him twice a game throughout the year.
Yeah, the only thing other than I want to mention is we talked about the coaching a little bit, the scheme, all pretty simple, the motions, Garrett Wilson moving all over the field, we like all that stuff. The only thing I can say I didn't like from the film is I think there's too many times where they leave the backside edge unblocked on mid to inside zones that were a little bit concerning, and sometimes it didn't work out for the Jets. So I want to see if they continue to add or continue to carry those plays, because the only thing I had a criticism with was that. And then the Garrett Wilson play where he stalk blocks Ramsey. It just took way too long in a crowded situation. If that was on the 50-yard line, fine. I'm okay with it after play action. But when stuff's so quick hitting in the red zone, I just don't feel like you can call that or execute that play properly. So, but other than that, yeah, I thought the coaching was good, minus the bust, right? We could talk all about all these busts. You have Sherwood bust, you have the Brandon Stevens, Tony Adams bust, where you have the wide open touchdown in the end zone. You have a ton of plays. So this will be a thing we'll be heavily critical of. If this is week 9, it's week 1, so you give them some leeway in terms of coaching. But obviously the busts have to stop, because there were. Again, Michael Carter one, and people blame Michael Carter. I don't think it was Michael Carter. You have the Tony Adams, Brandon Stevens one, right? There was the Sherwood one. Those are 3 touchdowns, right? The fourth touchdown was. How did they score the fourth touchdown?
The Jonnu Smith pot pass on the.
Yeah. But yeah, so 3 of their touchdowns were from coverage bust. Let's clean that up a little bit, please, God. But overall, obviously, I think the coaches were pretty solid. Chance versus the Bills, better than expected. However, same old Jets. Yeah, no, it sucks, man. They lost. You got to win. I like that they checked TJ Watt a lot, because I remember against the Cowboys. Yeah, it's hey, at least he's ahead of Hackett, right? He didn't let a rookie go against TJ Watt, 36 times, and he get 3 sacks and be like, oh yeah, we learned that TJ Watt can rush the passer in this game. So at least low bar to clear, but. Yeah. So tell us about Stevens. We talked about him before, Joe, early on in the review. So go and check that out. Obviously not good. We criticize him a lot for slipping, for not catching the ball, for, busting coverages, less than ideal. We got about 20 minutes left. So let's go. I don't think you've done anything have you done anything on the Bills yet?
Not yet, no.
It's only Wednesday, right? So
yeah.
I'll share the screen, and again, I know we haven't done anything on them yet, or you haven't done anything on them yet specifically, but we'll go over their depth chart and just kind of talk about Jets positions versus their positions, like we did kind of last time. Again, hard to identify dubs for certain positions, because where do you put tight ends, running backs, whatever. But just looking at the roster overall, obviously Josh Allen, right? Have to be concerned about him. He's at minimum, top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You can argue best. I could see you arguing 3rd or 4th. If you want to put, Burrow above him, or Mahomes, or Daniels, or Lamar, fine, whatever. But I think at the bare minimum, top 5, right? Even if you're a hater, I don't think you could say lower than top 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I might even go to
So,
3. And I'm kind of a hater because I feel like Lamar should have won MVP last year, but I would still probably say
dude,
top 3.
I even like, or even Burrow, dude, like in terms of what he did, like I think Lamar and Burrow might have been better than Allen last year, but yeah, yeah, no, he's top, and if you want to put Mahomes above him, fine, whatever. But yeah, I think top 3 is, top 3 to 5 is the bare minimum. The lowest you can put him is 5. But obviously an excellent quarterback. So we have to worry about him. There's really not so much to add. Past that, the receivers, the guys going to be throwing the ball to, Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir. I think we're going to give the Jets the advantage here. They're our corners versus their receivers. Now, obviously, Brandon Stevens got beat up a little bit by Calvin Austin, but I think Shakir is probably the biggest concern. I don't love Keon Coleman's game. Palmer's is an okay 3, but what do you think about their receivers overall?
I mean, Elijah Moore revenge game. We just had an Aaron Rodgers revenge game. Maybe it's Elijah Moore's turn, but I mean,
Yeah.
Coleman had some nice, not contested catches, but acrobatic catches in that comeback game. So yeah, I mean, the Bills, it'll be interesting to see how the Jets adjust their cornerback usage in this game, because Pittsburgh, I think that was a good opportunity to go shadow approach with Sauce, because they've one great receiver. So let's take him out and challenge the other players, which, obviously that worked out going after the non-Sauce targets. But against a team like this, you said it earlier, there's not as much value to, here's one guy to just put Sauce on. So will they go back to just left, right, just stick to your one side? I'm curious to see how they adjust that against a receiving group that is, it's not the worst in the league, but they also don't have really a star for you to worry about covering with Sauce.
I don't think it's the worst in the league, but is saying it's bottom 5 to 10 pretty comfortable. Like they have a bunch of 2s and 3s. I don't really think they have a 1. So I would say bottom 10 in the league. Like again, obviously, like some of their stats are inflated, all that stuff. Like put this group with an average quarterback and not Josh Allen. What are they doing? So I just, I think it's a bottom 10 receiving group in the league, and I think the Jets have, obviously a lockdown corner in Sauce in a really good slot, and Michael Carter the second, and Stevens is what he is. But you give the advantage to the Jets here. Tight ends, obviously, I think they're pretty stacked there. Kincaid's, he started off really hot in his career. I think he's slowed down a little bit, where he's not racking up yards and stuff like that, but still a pretty solid number 1 tight end. Dawson Knox is also, at least to my knowledge, I haven't obviously studied him a ton, but at least a pretty solid number 2. So got to be not concerned about their tight ends, but it's a top half of the league group at the minimum, I think.
Yeah, and I think they do a nice job in the run game for sure. So Jets did nice job in this game with the run defense, I think. And they didn't run the ball too well against Baltimore. It was really just Josh Allen chucking it up to get back into the game. So if the Jets can do that, continue to stop the run in this game and make the Bills predictable. We've seen twice before with Josh Allen coming to MetLife Stadium, they could get some takeaways and some sacks off of him when they make the offense one-dimensional. So if they continue to stop the run, I think they could be in a good spot.
Yeah, moving to the running backs. I know you said they didn't run the ball so well on the Ravens. And again, I don't think this is one of the best groups in the league, but I think it's pretty solid. Obviously, James Cook is he just got paid. He's at least a solid running back. Ty Johnson has been pretty solid for them, and I think he hurt the Jets a little bit last year, right? He had quite a few big gains on them, and we saw it with the Jets. Like he was a guy we didn't necessarily want to get rid of, and he started playing pretty well his last season with the Jets, and then they cut him for, I don't remember. I think it's because we brought on Dalvin Cook, right? And then they cut Ty Johnson. Or am I mistaken on that one? I forget.
Was it that year or was it the year before?
Was it the year before?
2022 was the
it was
last year. So it may have been that. I don't completely remember, but he's been a new player in Buffalo. That's for sure. He's not the one, especially remember he was, we would criticize them for how obvious it was they shouldn't play Ty Johnson on pass downs because he had so many drops and it was a terrible blocker. But now with the Bills, he was making insane plays as a receiver last year.
Yeah. And then I think even Ray Davis has had some pop. I think he's a younger guy, right? If I'm not mistaken, but a decent running back core. And then their offensive line, again, I think the Bills like bottom 10 receiving group. I think they're a decent to solid running back room, a pretty good tight end room. Their offensive line, I would say, am I wrong in saying that like they're an average-ish group? Again, that's hard to quantify. I don't have stats and stuff. Deion Dawkins is obviously a good left tackle. David Edwards, not so sure about. Connor McGovern's okay. Osiris Torrance, I think, is just okay. Spencer Brown has been better. I think he's actually pretty solid now at this point in his career. I would say like an average offensive line group. Am I underrating them? Am I overrating them? Again, I know I'm putting you a little bit on the spot. You haven't really done
I would put
your
them
full
above.
breakdown of them, but
I think they have good continuity is something they have going for them. A few of these guys have been there for multiple years. They have a solid left tackle, which is important for Allen. So I would say they're above average. There are more, star-studded units, which I think the Jets are one of them. But yeah, they're usually pretty solid. So I would say they're above average.
I'm going to throw this question or this comment into here from Billy SBC. One problem we have is there's only one backup for center, left guard, and right guard, which is Xavier Newman. It's actually a good point. In this last game, I don't know if you could pull up like the inactives or the actives. Was Cole Laval pulled up, or who would be like who? Was there any other backup offensive lineman? Because Billy, the only thing I can say to this, unless they actually called somebody up like Cole Laval or something like that, is that Max Mitchell has played guard, so it's probably Max Mitchell, left guard, right guard, or he has the flexibility to play left guard, right guard, where Xavier Newman's the only center they have. But I think Max Mitchell is your next backup interior offensive lineman, which is nothing to write home about. But
I don't believe they pulled anyone up for that game. They have Laval sitting down there. They have Marquise Hayes, who was a priority at UDFA and showed some stuff in the preseason. But yeah, I think if the center goes down, it's definitely Newman. If a guard goes down, do you think they would put Mitchell in before Newman?
I think they would put Newman in, and then if the center went down, they would flex Newman over to center. I'm taking Newman over Max Mitchell in any scenario until two guys go down, which knock on wood, hopefully they don't. Defensive line of the Bills, pretty solid, right? That's definitely it's again not a star-studded group, but very solid continuity. Joey Bosa, I'm not sure. Like obviously he's been very injured the last few years, or just throughout his entire career. I'm not sure how productive he's actually been when on the field. I still think he's at least a very solid player when healthy. The problem is he's just never healthy. But Joey Bosa, Gregory Rousseau, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa is a pretty good backup. So I would say a very solid defensive line for the Bills.
It is solid, but definitely, I know it's the Baltimore Ravens, but they got stomped in week 1. And it's the Jets run a similar offense. Again, I'm not saying they're at the Ravens caliber yet. Fields is not Lamar, Breece is not Derrick Henry, but similar way that they're trying to threaten you. And they had a lot of problems with the Ravens. Joey Bosa was a part of that. I remember seeing definitely a few plays where he got moved, but he did come up with that big fumble that he forced on Henry late in the game. So he had that big play, but I'm curious to see because they do have plenty of talent. Ed Oliver had some big plays in this game as well. But they got run all over by a, same type of offense, similar capabilities with the Ravens. So curious to see if the Jets can exploit that. Are the Bills going to adjust? Can the Jets work against those adjustments and beat them in different ways if they think the Bills are going to overcompensate towards the run game? So that'll be interesting to see. I think that's what if you believe the Jets can win this game, I think that's what it revolves around. The fact that the Bills just got run over by a very similar type of offensive attack. Can the Jets exploit them in the same way that Baltimore did? 238 rushing yards from the Ravens.
Yeah, and I didn't chart the Jets running game, but it did feel like they had like a good mix of like inside zone, mid zone. You had some outside zone. You had some traps. I don't know if I remember seeing duo or not, but it seems like they had a good mixture of run plays. I like to say they had a pin and pull play on Isaiah Davis's. Actually, it wasn't a draw; it was actually a pin and pull. So I think they had a good mixture. It's just like you said, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry to Justin Fields and Hall is a downgrade, but still, like if they play they did last game, Justin Fields is a top 3 quarterback in terms of running the ball. And if Breece Hall is what he was last game, he's a top 10 running back, top 15 at worst type running back. So, if the Ravens can exploit him, hopefully the Jets can as well. But it's still a very good front seven. Like even moving back to the linebackers, Matt Milano, been a little bit of a jet killer, very, very good linebacker, probably underrated in general, but AFC East fans know who he is. Terrell Bernard, Christian Benford, completing the front seven, their linebackers are pretty damn solid as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think the Jets passing game against Buffalo will be interesting to see because, Baltimore working off of that, they were kind of similar to what the Jets did against the Steelers. They didn't throw the ball much, but when they did, they hit a shot play to DeAndre Hopkins, who had an incredible catch, but got him open, and they were able to generally be efficient when they threw the ball. So I think that's also the goal for the Jets. And that's going to be their goal throughout the season. I don't think they're ever going to go into a game building off of the pass primarily. It's going to be, can we run the ball first and then time up the shot plays when we, want to. And they did that against the Steelers with the Garrett Wilson touchdown. I would like them to see them try it, throw another one in the second half, because that was the only deep shot they took in the game. And they still had a great offensive performance overall. But, there could have been another one in there to throw in. And there were some dialed up that they didn't have the protection for, weren't targeted. But can they get a second shot play in if they could continue to run the ball well?
Before we go to the rest of the Bills roster, David asked, do you think they would move Tippmann to center if Myers got hurt? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. I'll be very impressed if you do, Nani. I know we're both obsessed with the Jets, but I don't know the splits on Xavier Newman's center play versus guard play, and if he's specifically better one or the other. If he's kind of even, I would just leave Tippmann where he's at. Like the thing with moving Tippmann is but now you also have a backup coming into Membu. Like Membu's getting used to Tippmann. Do you want to now screw with Membu? Have him get used to Xavier Newman? Like at that point that Myers got hurt, I personally, unless there's a large split in terms of how he plays at each position, I would just then move Xavier Newman to center and keep Tippmann where he's at, because he may be here for the rest of his career at this point. You don't know. If I had to guess, ABT is not going to be brought back unless it's on like a 1-year incentive-laden contract or a team-friendly deal to see if he can prove that he can stay healthy, which he wouldn't prove after 1 year of only being healthy, by the way. But nonetheless, I would personally keep Tippmann where he is, just to not screw with the continuity of the offensive line, specifically next to Membu. If Myers got hurt, again, knock on wood, we don't have great depth there. Don't want it to happen.
Yeah, I think I don't quote me on it, but when that Giants game happened, he came in at center. Isn't that because he was just the emergency option and he's primarily a guard? He mostly played guard this preseason and last year, right? So I would think that maybe they would move Tippmann back to center. I don't know. I don't know if they
didn't he muff the first snap in that game?
What did that? I honestly forget. All I remember is that he was in. The Jets spiked the ball at the end, and they won in overtime in the most thrilling game that we've ever seen. So.
I think in that game, the first snap he came in, like you get the injury to whoever the center was in that game. Was it Spencer Long at that point, or whoever? I don't even know who it was in those years. But he comes in. I think he fumbled the very first play, or like botched the snap or whatever the hell happened. Nonetheless, if that's the case where he's only really played center in emergency situations, then you'd move Tippmann. Ideally, again, you just keep Tippmann where he's at. But if that's the case, then I am completely with you. McGovern and Wes Schweitzer. Okay, so it's McGovern. It wasn't that long ago. And maybe I'm thinking about. Maybe it's Jonathan Harrison and not Xavier Newman. I forget. Again, a lot of bad memories.
A lot of bad centers.
Moving on to the middle of their defense, but now to the backside of their defense. Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp, names I recognize. I don't think either of them are nothing or anything to write home about. Again, I've been sticking with average through a lot of this. I think they're just okay safeties, unless there's numbers or film you've seen that indicates anything differently.
I mean, last week against Baltimore, I talked about it with the D-line, but it was really a lot of the secondary that was responsible for those runs, because it was like 3 or 4 Henry runs where they got most of those yards. And it was a lot of, he would get through the first level and the second level couldn't stop it. And they let bad runs turn into home runs. So safety is exploitable if they could get to that next level. That's something the Steelers did decent job of. Like the Jets were consistent running, but they didn't get that breakaway run because the safeties were usually there with some good stops at the second, third level. So maybe this week they have a better chance to get one of those breakaway runs. Breece coming off his injury had one against the Bills in 2023. And last year against the Bills, that was probably his best game last year. And even that wasn't great because if you remember, that's when he got caught up to on that one sideline breakaway run. He kind of tried to throw a move. Maybe he shouldn't have, but he did get some breakaway plays in that game. So that could be something to look out for.
No, I actually want to mention that you mentioned that because I'm thinking about Garrett Wilson on that specific play. And Garrett Wilson was good in this game, but again, the drop pass at the end of the game, can't have it. And then also there were a few plays I didn't key on it, but I want to see a little bit better block effort from Garrett Wilson.
I noticed that too. I noticed that too. There was one. Was it the one where Breece got hit in the backfield and Garrett kind of just stopped and he was kind of just like looking at it, didn't really get involved
initially, but then kind of just gave up.
Yeah. And then Breece stayed with the play, but he was kind of just he didn't really find another guy to block.
Yeah, that was the one where like it should have been like a loss of 2 or 3, and turned it into like +3 or whatever it was, something like that. I want to see a little bit more effort from Garrett in the blocking game, and then obviously the catch at the end. Great game, obviously. 7 catches, a touchdown, 90 something yards, like great. But again, if you're paid like a top 10 receiver in the NFL, we're going to criticize you like a top 10 receiver, and you can't drop the ball at the end, and you got to show block effort. It's something that now he's not going to get benched. But Aaron Glenn does live by that. If you don't block, you're not getting the rock. He'll have a tough time if Garrett Wilson's not blocking, not getting the rock. But I'm sure he'll be spoken to about it. Billy says we could beat Buffalo, but not in a shootout. Run the ball, control time of possession, keep Allen on the Jets sideline. Jets could win this. The only one of the concerns is you see it on Twitter, like floating around, whatever. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen has had quite a bit of success versus the Lions. Now, I believe the last time he played him, it's when Aaron Glenn had like 47 guys on defense on IR. So that's obviously not the case with the Jets right now. Again, knock on wood. But the thing is, like, Josh Allen is one of those guys where you almost want to sit back and be patient versus him because he's bound to go for it all or make a big mistake. So I wonder how the Jets are going to adjust because obviously they blitzed, quite a bit in this game, and both of Wilkes and Glenn's tendencies are to blitz. With Josh Allen, though, he's a little bit of a magician back there. So do you think the Jets adjust to that and are going to be a little bit more conservative and make Josh Allen beat them, or are they still going to stick true to what they are and send some blitzes? Is just concerning with a guy like Josh Allen who's an alien.
Yeah, and I think I talked about the Clemens decision earlier, the fact that he basically matched Will McDonald's snaps. Like, is that something they adjust? Less Clemens, more McDonald to get some mobility on the edge, even if he, I don't think he's significantly worse than Clemens as an overall run defender, but conceivably, Clemens gives you more size and edge setting. But against this type of quarterback, maybe we hike McDonald's snaps up so we can have someone who can match him if he tries to escape. Is that a change that they make? But in terms of the blitzes, I'd be curious to look the next few days. What are Allen's numbers against the blitz? How did he do last week against the Ravens, who typically bring some pressure? I'm not sure of that yet. I'll look into it. But against Rodgers, the blitz kind of worked against them because, and that's what they should have done because Rodgers struggled with it when he was in Green Bay and played Aaron Glenn. The blitzes worked really well. But in this game, he was ready for it. He found the answers, and they didn't really get too much out of the plays where they blitzed. It was more when they, Quincy got the 1 sack, but in general, blitzes didn't do a whole lot for them. So, it'll be interesting to see how they mold that from game to game throughout the season.
Yeah, like the absolute wrong guy to play in week 1 when you're gonna have coverage bust is Aaron Rodgers. Like, say what you want about even his arms at times. Like sometimes he misses. Like the one Sauce Gardner deflection he had is because he threw it behind DK Metcalf and he got his hand in there. But in terms of exploiting blown coverages, you don't want to do that against Rodgers at this point. You don't want to do it against Joe Flacco. At this point. So I'm not saying Rodgers is great or anything like that still, but nonetheless, he's still smart. So their corners, I'm not sure exactly who started for them last week. Dorian Strong is apparently injured. I don't know what purple means, if it's like, doubtful or whatever. Tre'Davious White, I know red means he's going to be out. So Tyron Johnson's one of the better nickelbacks in the league. I know that. Christian Benford's, I think, at least a solid corner. But then past that, it's either going to be one of Jamarcus Ingram, or Dorian Strong, who's injured. So, what do they do? Are they going to bracket? Are they going to cone Garrett Wilson and then make, your number two's going to have to win? So that's the big concern is like, they don't, Garrett Wilson can beat every single one of these guys, but if he's double covered, you need your next guy to win because, and with that being said, like there's not a lot there, like, past Teron Johnson with a White injured, who's older now anyway. Their secondary is nothing to write home about. Again, you have Dom saying in this chat that Cole Bishop's the weak point of that secondary. Again, I know Tyron Johnson's good in the nickel, but their outside corners are not great. So hopefully the Jets can take advantage of that, whether it be Allen or Josh Reynolds or whoever it may be. And you mentioned the deep shots before. I want to mention this. Like it's something I want to see as well. Arian Smith, a deep shutter to a game just to open it up a little bit. But nonetheless, transitioning back into the corners. What are your thoughts on those guys, especially with Trey White injured?
Yeah, and they just put out the injury report a few hours, like an hour ago or something, and Taron Johnson was on there, didn't practice with quad, so that would be a big deal if he's out also, because he's a top slot guy up there with MC2 for sure. Shaq Thompson, the linebacker, didn't practice, and they had a bunch of limiteds outside of those, but those are the two who didn't practice. So two on defense, definitely, especially in the back end there in coverage, could be a positive for the Jets if that happens. Mason Taylor didn't practice. He had an ankle. JT Fele illness, didn't practice, and Nwangwu with the hamstring.
Dom C saying that Trey White should be back, so that's something to know. I don't think he's that good anymore anyway, so I don't think it matters so much. But David says, I'm assuming Lazard will be active this week. I know they said he was injured. Like Lazard might have been a stash because they didn't want him to just run to the Steelers after being cut and give away all the Jets secrets. So I'm not even sure if Lazard sticks around, honestly. So I guess we'll see. Billy says we can't cover all the Bills receivers, but if the Jets dial up a strong pass rush, they can stop the ball at Josh Allen. They can't cover all the receivers. I don't think it's not like you're playing CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens or Jamar Chase and Higgins. You're talking about Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman. I hope they can stop them, but I guess we'll see. Allen can be frustrated into mistakes. He doesn't like playing the Jets. He didn't like playing the Jets with Robert Saleh, who's a little bit more conservative. Again, for what I know of Josh Allen versus the Blitz, he makes some miracles happen. We are at 6:00 though, Nania. So we'll give you're 0-1 through the season. I don't know if we're doing anything in terms of tracking it, but I guess I'll track it, especially because I started 1-0. You predicted 16-13 Jets. I predicted
we were there by
13 Steelers. We were there by halftime. Hit the over. So can you redeem yourself? What's going to be the if you had to predict the score of this game and I guess some thoughts?
I kind of wish I picked a loss going into week one because I do feel like I want to go win here after the performance we saw. And I kind of like the matchup against the Bills. They've already matched up well against them in the home games. And I feel like there are things working better for them than even those last 2 years. So I kind of want to go win, but it wouldn't make sense for me to, if I'm going to pick both of these to be wins, I'm just going to go wins all year. So for that reason, I'm going to go with another competitive loss, this time a little more middle of the pack with scoring. I'll go Bills 24, Jets 22.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was hoping you're going to predict a win there for the Jets so I could play with house money and, say they lose. But if they win, like, hey, fine, I'll take a 1-1 record even with you. And if they win, I'll obviously be happy. Who gives a shit about this? Just based on success and stuff like that, I'll give the Bills the win. I do think it's very possible, like the Ravens, they just can run the ball on them, control the clock, maybe force Allen into a turnover or two. And I could see them winning the game. But if I had to predict it, let's say 23 Bills, 23-20. I'll give the Bills. If they win, obviously we'll all be thrilled. Anything to promote the next couple of days? Anything people should watch out for? Stuff that's upcoming, stuff that's that was in the past, and obviously you have the idea now of a blitz heavy Jets team versus Josh Allen. How does he fare versus that blitz? So watch out for that. I know that'll be coming out in the next few days now. Yeah,
plenty of Bills scouting stuff. Definitely the next few days. This will be the part of the week where I start to transition towards the opponent a little bit. Cool your Jets. I've been very finally gotten into some consistency with that past couple months. My recap for the game is out. I went really long on that one, almost as long as these shows are. Gonna have a game preview as well. Put out my Justin Fields review for this week and a few other offense Justin Fields related articles today in the last couple of days. So those were fun to do, but we always got it consistently at JetX. So I don't have to pitch too much. Just be at the website and there'll be something good there,
Yeah, let's do a live tracking here, Nani, because I might need some help because I don't know if I can go to sleep with 9,995 followers. So if you could transfer me 5 followers over the next couple of hours, I'd greatly appreciate it, because that 10K is a number.
5 of the bots who want to help me.
I would love to
in 7 days.
I would love to get there, but I also don't want to be the guy who like screenshots 995 and or 9995 and be like, oh please 5 more. I'm not doing it. So yeah, we'll see. I'm just hoping another 5. I just can't. I can't stand it right now. But yeah, for me, full review came out. Obviously, live streams out. The short review should be coming out. It's about 20 minutes on specifically Membu and Fashanu. Those will be coming out every week. The short ones with a specific topic. The long reviews, I believe I'll be doing Jake Asman's show about weekly now, doing some film breakdowns on there. So watch me on there as well. And then past that, I'll be back next week with a film review, the short film review, and most likely back with Nania. I appreciate you guys. Let's enjoy